The other way around. Hello and welcome to a rather dull video from me. Dull because of the lighting, which, as you can see my face in the background lit up, is the only bit that is. Down to an LED lamp that I have swinging from the roof just there. Not the most perfect of situation. I'm drinking a cup of tea made with water out of a flask. That's been a while. Last week I made a video which is on members only, and that's where it will probably stay, talking about the situation at PNHQ and its electricity. There's been a bit of a long-running dispute on how much it should actually cost, and I've got to the stage where I can't afford to pay more, so I'm going to have to just do without. For me to have full electrics in this place, I estimate it's going to be probably £70 or £80 a month, which is, well, quite a lot, to be honest. In fact, a lot more than I can justify. Actually, it goes from being into an amount I can't really justify into an amount I can't actually afford. So, things have changed. I'm having to adapt to a new working life where I come down here where it's already about to go dark in the dark, where it will stay dark. With this situation occurring last week, my natural positivity went into, I'll find a way around it. I'm a resourceful kind of man. And I can be. It's too dark facing that way. Let's go back over here. If I'm completely honest, it's not as doable as what I first thought. Sure, I can have cups of tea made from a flask of hot water, and I can even go next door where they'll happily let me use their kettle. Very nice. Doesn't work if they're not there. But let's forget about that. Cup of tea, and sadly, UHT milk, because I haven't got a fridge that works. The fridge runs on electricity. 2 of these LED torches. Both are very good, and I can charge them up at home, so that's great. Although this area here, with that lamp on the roof there, is just about usable. One of the reasons for having a car inside is that I can work on the inside, and it's just not really practical. But then again, doing work outside is always better because of natural daylight, which is much better. And there's going to be light for a couple of hours yet, but it's, well, raining. If you've watched any of my videos recently over the past few months, you may know that I've been organising parts. Behind my MG seat, I have some parts. I have some more parts there, and I have some more parts just over here. With the aid of my rechargeable torch, I can look at this stuff if anybody wants some of it. But most of the stuff is down in the dungeon, which was dark, even with lighting. But now, without lighting, it's, well, actually like a cave. The other day, I was asked for some Maestro parts that I have, but they're in a box right at the back of the lockup. And I can go in there with my torch, but it's more unpleasant than I care to talk about. On the 1st of every month, I pay £50 for the electric, but next week I won't be doing. I'm not going to pay for something that I haven't got. So that's £50 saved. Fantastic. But am I going to lose that £50 quite easily by not being able to see what I'm doing? Probably. But there's a kind of a principle at stake here where I'm barely down here. 5 days a week now I'm having to stay at home, and that means that I don't really get a great deal of use of my lockup. Then Saturday and Sunday still being a bit of a day cut short, I'm just not really getting my money's worth out of the lockup, never mind the electric. But today, on this rather miserable, wet, typically wet British day, I'm thinking of solutions rather than problems, because problems enable you to find solutions. If you haven't got any problems, you don't have to set your mind to finding solutions. And finding solutions is something I quite enjoy doing. When I get motivated, that is. Some of the issues can be tackled, like the hot water. I don't need to drink 20 cups of tea a day. I don't need my microwave because I don't eat pasties any longer, which was a good decision. And To save on money, I have actually been trying not to use the car and just using the bike instead, which is rather unpleasant when it's pissing it down, but there we go, I'm not complaining. Although it sounds like I'm complaining, I'm not. One of the ways to vastly improve the amount of light in here would be to open up both of those big swinging doors, but there are 2 cars parked in front of them. And here's the next bit. In order to keep moving it back and forth, I've got to charge the battery from time to time, because batteries don't last forever. And I can't charge the battery. So today, I'm going to unplug all of my charging stuff and take some batteries home with me. Which then, if you look at it this way, that means I've got to take the car, because I'm not going to be carrying a battery in my rucksack. That's the first time I've moved this since, oh, I've got another one there. Of course I have. I could use my battery booster pack, my Top Don battery booster pack. Thank you, Top Don, for sending me that. But the trouble is, on a flat battery, then you're putting strain on the alternator, and K-series alternators are already a bit difficult to come by, so I don't really want to be doing that. At the beginning of this year, I was full of optimism, full of plans for P&HQ, and they've not really worked out, have they? But do I give up? Or do I just fight? Do I carry on fighting? You can knock a man down, but it doesn't stop him from fighting. And I am knocked down, and a part of me does just feel like completely giving up. But that would be giving up, and I don't really want to be giving up. I'd rather fight to the bitter end. Even if I know I'm not going to get anywhere, I'll still fight. And it's been my stubbornness that's kept me going, even though things haven't been working out my way. If you're not prepared to get up when you've been knocked down, how are you supposed to stay stood up when you haven't been knocked down? These things are, you know, they help create a backbone in which you can bounce back and make things better. I have a lot of people to be thankful for. Over the past 5.5 years, I've continued to make these videos regardless of whether it's been practical or not, and I shall continue. I feel like I owe it to the people who have been generous to me, and all of my channel members as well. A couple of weeks ago, I entered a competition, which isn't like me, but it was on Facebook, and it was free to enter. You can't really lose anything with that, can you? It was to win an Audi RS6, which is a very, very impressive car. Obviously, it's not the kind of thing I could properly insure, and I'd just end up having to flog it on. But I thought, why not? And then, a week later, I had an email saying, you've won. I thought, this is it. This is where everything changes. I've won, and to call them. So I did do, and I spent 20 minutes on hold, which normally I'd be a bit frustrated by that, but on this occasion I wasn't. And sure enough, I have won a 50% subscription to their raffle thing. Raffles for all sorts of prizes, cameras, money, all this kind of stuff. That's what it was. I was a bit disappointed. But I also felt a little bit naive for actually believing that I actually won a car. Deep down into the dungeon of despair, disappointments, and now darkness, where I went to collect a box of Maestro parts, because there's a chap who wants some of the parts but not all of them. But due to the rather fantastic new thing that Facebook have now, where you can't even click on your own advert unless you sign back in. What the bloody hell's going on with it? It's going dark now. Not that that makes much difference to me. From a comment on my previous video about this, that again is members only, I'm afraid, I had a suggestion that getting one of these Jackery power bank things. Well, I've never heard of one of those before. Let's have a look. So I had a look, and there we go, Jackery all over the place. Had a look, suddenly my Facebook feed is full of Jackery power banks. Even Hubnut is advertising them. And I thought, yes, maybe it's time I put my neck out and actually emailed them. Rather than going through their social media side of things, I just emailed them directly in the marketing department and told them of my situation and how they could provide me with a solution if they wanted a promotional video. If they happen to reply to this positively, I will do, of course, a very good promotional video for them, because That would be the biggest help that I could possibly get at the moment. No, that was yesterday I did that, and I've had no reply so far. So we'll see. Maybe nothing will come of it. One of the most awkward parts at the moment is even just keeping my bench tidy, because even with the lamp on you can't really see much of it. But again, I'll find a way. The main problem with just using lamps like this in order to light things up is that they're never really properly overhead, so you're constantly getting dazzled by them. And then, of course, that affects your ability to see in the rest of the dark. This is a bit of a strange one, but I'm having a cup of tea now, just so as not to waste the hot water that I got from next door. And I don't even need it. In fact, I don't even want it. I've had enough tea for one day. It's time to go home. And at this point, I realised some of my absent-mindedness could have been very, very costly. You see, I locked up just then, and then I started looking for the key for the Volvo. I thought, bollocks, I've left it in there, haven't I? Which means I've got to push this back out of the way and get in. Then I checked the ignition. It was in the ignition. That's the worst place to leave your car key when you close the door. Just in case for some reason it thinks I'll lock myself. But it didn't, it's still there. Worse than that though, I wandered off to the shop to buy some milk. So I left the key in the ignition and the gate open, ready for someone to just come along and steal my precious Volvo. They didn't.
1,000 blows and celebrity traitors. The ceremony will be held in London in May. Our entertainment.
When you're a little flustered, you're more likely to make little mistakes. Little mistakes can very easily lead to big problems. So I'm lucky with that there. Honestly, I'm quite relieved. The amount of times I've had somebody pop into the yard and then leave their key in the ignition and close the door, it just makes me go, no, don't do that, don't do that, never do that. Surprised I did it myself. The next major obstacle I've got to find my way around, which I'm not even sure a power bank would actually work for, would be the work I need to do on the car called Mabel. I've got to grind back lots and lots of rusty metal, make a nice plate, and then weld it on. And I'm not going to be able to do that anytime soon, not unless I call in a really big favour from the garage next door, who do seem to be very supportive at the moment. Honestly, they normally just take the piss on every opportunity, but for some reason recently they haven't been doing that, which is a bit unnerving really. I'm sure that'll change. And that probably is the end of this video and the end of my electricity supply. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being a subscriber. Thank you very much for being a channel member. It's all very, very much appreciated to me. Honestly, I feel like I don't tell you enough. As I approach the end of this particular video, it's time for me to say thank you, but also ask a favour. And that one favour is, for this video and the next one, please just leave the adverts running, and then maybe I'll get a bit more money out of YouTube. Whereas this month, thank you for commenting, thank you for sharing somewhere, if you did, and thank you for just anything else. Bye bye. I really am waffling on a bit. It's because, you know why I'm waffling on? Because I hadn't decided what I was going to say before I started talking about it. And I do that quite a bit. It's almost like a nervous thing. I'm not nervous. I'm just not very well organised with this particular video. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. No thank you to my serial disliker that manages to get in there pretty much straight away on every single one of my videos to stick the knife in for some reason. Actually, no, go on, thanks, I don't care. It doesn't make any difference. There's enough people that do like the videos for it to balance out. Your efforts are completely wasted, I'm afraid.